One second, I was still the king of mercenaries wanted worldwide, and the next I was socially dead, with a hole in my pants being watched on the spot by my childhood sweetheart. I went from a king amid a hail of bullets to a sickly weakling in the 1980s, too poor to afford pants. No internet, no electricity, no weapons. The moment I opened my eyes, there were 4 younger brothers crying to be fed. I wanted to rely on modern knowledge to defy fate and change my life, but I couldn't even figure out how to smoke a cigarette and nearly coughed my life away. I freaking transmigrated. The thought had just crossed my mind when I passed out again. In my days, memories from my previous life came flooding in. An international mercenary, targeted by the police, hiding in a rental room in a third-tier city to lie low. Cigarettes, alcohol, and a laptop with no internet. After drinking a little, I turned on the computer to study teacher Tsang's courseware. At the critical moment, a thunderous boom exploded outside. I've never heard thunder that loud in my life. It scared me so badly I jolted, my life slipping away and my consciousness gradually fading. My first thought when I regained consciousness, am I going crazy right away? That feeling of life draining away between my legs was freaking terrifying. Brother Hongjun, how can you be like this? The girl's loud voice instantly snapped me awake. I looked up and saw big eyes, double eyelids, a high nose bridge, and thin lips. Brother Hongjun, get up and change your pants quickly. I'll wash them for you. The voice was still there, but the person had already left the room. I looked down and saw a hole in my pants, with my junk hanging out in the breeze. After sorting out my thoughts, I realized I had transmigrated, body and all. Name, Lu Hongjun. Age, 18. Sex, male. Hobby, women. The 1980s, though I don't remember the exact year. I have a father who is the production team leader, and 4 younger brothers, 2 sets of twins, aged 17 and 15 respectively. I have no impression of my mother. The girl just now is named Wu Tenglan, Xiaolan. 18 years old, my childhood sweetheart and little tag-along, and barring any surprises, she'll be my wife in the future. I looked around the house. Poor, very poor, extremely poor. I casually grabbed a pair of pants and changed into them. When I went outside, I saw Xiaolan washing clothes, her eyes dull and lifeless. Any girl would be speechless after running into something like this. When she saw me come out, she wiped her hands and went into the room to take out the torn pants to wash them too. I didn't really mind. We grew up together running around naked as kids, and in the future we'll grow old naked too. Subconsciously, I reached for my pocket wanting a cigarette, but grabbed nothing. Brother Hongjun, do you want to smoke? Xiaolan pulled 2 crumpled, filterless cigarettes out of her own pocket. Here, take them. Didn't you say yesterday you wanted to know what cigarettes taste like? I secretly took them from my dad. She put the cigarettes in my hand and then brought over some matches. I stuck one in my mouth, and she struck a match to light it for me. I took a hard drag and started coughing violently. This body had never smoked before. Xiaolan patted my back. Well, is it good? It's good, just not quite used to it. By the way, where are 2nd brother and 5th brother and the others? As Xiaolan hung up the laundry, she said, the production team is splitting up the household shares today, so they've all gone to watch the excitement. My dad and Uncle Lu said they'd divide your land first, and if you can get a job in town, then we'll talk. If you can't, at least with land you won't starve. Her voice grew softer and softer. Her face flushed red with embarrassment. I graduated from junior high, the only one in Lujiaten. That was also thanks to the convenience of my dad being the team leader. Ordinary families could barely afford food. So how could they let a grown young man skip work to go study? It's been more than 2 months since graduation. The grain has all been harvested, and I'm still waiting for a job. Jobs aren't that easy to get. Without connections or giving gifts, getting an iron rice bowl is almost impossible. Just as I was thinking that, a shout came from outside the yard. Big brother, look what we caught. 4 half-grown boys were driving a horse cart, and another was leading a mule. The hybrid offspring of a donkey and a horse, stronger than a donkey and more enduring than a horse, the strongest production tool of the 1980s. In all of Lujiaten, among more than a dozen horses, there were only 2 mules. These 4 boys won them in the draw and brought them back, and even got a 2-horse cart. The one shouting was 2nd brother Lu Honghua. He and 3rd brother Lu Hongtai are a pair of twins, and 4th brother Lu Hongmin and 5th brother Lu Hongan are also twins. The 15-year-old 4th and 5th brothers are both over 1.8 meters tall, and the 17-year-old 2nd and 3rd brothers are even just over 1.9 meters. I'm only 1.75 meters, so I look small and skinny. Supposedly I've been frail since childhood, which is also why I was the only one who could go to school. The 4 brothers came into the yard, and, seeing Xiaolan, quickly called out, Sister Xiaolan. I noticed there were still 3 sacks on the cart and pointed at them. Fourth brother quickly replied, "Big brother, this is the grain allotted to our family. There are 6 of us in the family, 30 gene of corn kernels and 15 gene of wheat per person. In a couple of days we'll crack some into grits and grind some cornmeal. Enough to get us through the winter. Grind the wheat into flour and we can make dumplings for the new year." Back then, the Northeast mainly grew corn and wheat, and rice was rarely planted. I watched the 4 younger ones unload the cart and haul the grain. I didn't need to do this kind of heavy labor. I went to look at that horse. Judging by its teeth, it was about 4 years old. The mule was a bit older, 7 or 8, in its prime. They were tied to the wheel of the cart, and with no stable, we had to build one quickly. Winter was just around the corner, at most half a month before the snow fell. In those days it snowed as early as October, and heavy snow could pile up over a meter deep on flat ground. At night, it would drop to -30 or 40 degrees. Without a pen, livestock would die, or at best not survive the winter. But I didn't need to worry about that. My bargain bin dad is the team leader. Even though the production team had fallen apart, its influence hadn't faded that fast. Otherwise, why would my family win a horse, a mule, and a 2-horse cart in the draw? People always have selfish motives. After the 4 boys finished up, second brother washed his hands and started cooking. "Brother, to celebrate Daching and Dahe joining our family, no porridge today. We're having corn cakes. Stew the rabbit fourth brother picked up yesterday with potatoes." Then he said to Xiaolan, "Sister Xiaolan, stay and eat too. I figure my dad and Uncle Wu will be back as well." Uncle Wu's name is Wu Jiaoyang, the production team's party secretary, Xiaolan's father. He came out of the army, and when he arrived, he had brought 3-year-old Xiaolan with him. Supposedly, Xiaolan's mother was also a soldier and had already been killed in action. He and my dad were partners on the team and also neighbors, so when things got busy, Xiaolan would be left at my house to roam free, and the 2 families often ate together. Xiaolan didn't stand on ceremony and agreed, getting ready to help, but second brother quickly said, "Sister Xiaolan, just rest." About an hour later, it was dark and the meal was ready too. Wild rabbit stewed with potatoes, pickled mustard knots, shallots dipped in sauce, big cornmeal flatbreads, and corn grits porridge. Compared with usual, it already counted as a feast. Was it good? Edible, yes, but definitely not tasty. Not even as good as takeout outside a rental apartment. Especially the wild rabbit stewed with potatoes. Without plenty of fat, it was really awful. Rabbit itself has no fat to speak of. If you ate it all the time, it could practically kill you. What this era lacked most was oil. For a family of 5 or 6, to eat 4 gene of soybean oil a year was normal. Meat was even more out of the question. Some families couldn't eat it even 2 or 3 times a year. But seeing everyone eating so heartily, it was clear how scarce supplies were. I ate along with them. In my previous life, I came from a mercenary background. What hardship hadn't I endured? Spending 10 days or half a month in the woods on missions was routine, and sometimes I even ate things raw. Thinking of the woods, I started considering going into the mountains to hunt. The job was very likely going nowhere, and I couldn't stay at home all the time. This lousy family was too poor. The 6 of us could barely get half full. And if I married Xiaolan and had a kid, forget it. With just 1 room and 1 large heated Kong bed, there wouldn't even be a place to do the deed. Even though other families were the same, I did come here by transmigration after all, so I was definitely going to improve things. Lujiaten is located on the border of He province, where the Heilongjiang and Songhua rivers meet, with only a river separating it from Russia, and behind the village are the mountains, rich in fishing and hunting resources. In winter, the river freezes over, and you could stroll across the border in less than half an hour. I'm extremely familiar with the mountains, as familiar as my own vegetable garden. With these resources and my transmigrative status, there's no reason to keep living a hard life. The only problem was that I had no tools in hand. The first step is always the hardest, so tomorrow morning I'll head into the mountains first for a look. After everyone had eaten their fill, we agreed to find someone tomorrow to put up a livestock shed, and Wu and his daughter went home. We also went to bed early since we had nothing to do anyway. After all, in those days, if you didn't have a wife, there really wasn't much in the way of entertainment. The next morning we got up early, casually ate some leftovers, and Dad went out to find people and arrange for building the shed. I didn't bother with that. I couldn't really help anyway, so I might as well head up the mountain. Before leaving, I still decided to take the horse and the mule with me. First, to let them graze, since there wasn't much hay at home, not enough to feed them through the whole winter. Second, this new body was too weak. It probably couldn't even carry 100 gene, and after walking 2 li up the mountain, I'd be exhausted. It should be because it had never done hard labor and the nutrition hadn't kept up. From now on, I'll exercise more and eat better. An 18-year-old body, at an age when even your pants can get poked through, shouldn't have poor physical qualities. Just as I was about to walk out of the yard, Fifth came trotting over eagerly. Bro, are you going to let the horse graze? I'm going with you. While we're at it, let's go catch fish in the East River. Second, third, and fourth all worked honestly and steadily. Only Fifth liked to slack off and play tricks, with plenty of schemes in his head. When I wasn't around, all four of them thought he had the most ideas. It was a common thing for him to lead his three older brothers off to catch fish and chase rabbits. Since Dad was the team leader, everyone just turned a blind eye. I didn't mind. With this body of mine, going into the mountains alone really wasn't safe. In those days, the mountains had every kind of wild animal: brown bears, black bears, wild boars. Run into any one of them, and you'd be done for. Though they were rarely seen near the village, it wasn't as if they never appeared. Besides, all I had in my hand was a pig-killing knife a little over 30 centimeters long, so I really didn't feel confident. You just want to ride the horse and slack off while you're at it, don't you? I didn't even turn my head. Fifth rubbed his head, took the reins, and grinned. If you see through it, don't say it out loud, and we can still be friends. Hurry up, bro, the horse is hungry. With that, he climbed onto the horse's back and headed straight for the back mountain. I mounted the mule and followed behind, laughing as I scolded him. You brat, if the horse is hungry, why are you still riding it? You're afraid Dad will come back and block you from leaving so he can make you work, aren't you? Chatting and laughing, we arrived at the East River. Though it was called the East River, it was actually a branch of the Heilongjiang River. Upstream, water only flowed in when the water level rose during the rainy season. Usually it was just runoff from the empty mountains. It was 3 to 4 meters wide at the broadest, 2 meters at the narrowest, and more than 2 meters deep. In winter, the ice froze to a depth of 1.5 meters, and the fish gathered in the deepest spots, where you could chisel ice holes to scoop up fish. Knock down roe deer with a stick, ladle up fish with a dipper. That's what it means to cut holes in the ice. Just as I was thinking that, Fifth had already taken off his clothes and was about to go into the river. Big brother, wait on the bank. I'll go down and catch a few big catfish, and we'll take them back to stew and eat. As he spoke, he went down, but then with an ow, he sprang right back up. The water only came up to his chest, so why the hell did he yelp and scramble back up? Fine, come back up, but what was with covering your crotch with both hands? Fifth turned into the crotch-covering sect, hopping around and shivering. Big brother, it's too cold, my basket's shriveled. My basket's shriveled so much it's twitching, look. As he spoke, he took his hands away. I took one look, and my eyelid twitched. Phew, it looked cold just seeing it, and my own crotch turned cold too. I hurriedly said, cut it out. Get dressed now. It's about to freeze over. There are already ice chips in the water, and you still went in to catch fish. How could your basket not get shriveled off? No need to sow any seed anymore, and forget about marrying a wife too. Fifth immediately panicked and burst into tears. No, big brother. It can't really be ruined, right? I still want to marry a wife, and I'm keeping it to sow seed. I was both annoyed and amused, not sure whether he was shaking from the cold or from fright. Don't ever do something this stupid again. If it really gets ruined, you're finished. Let's go take a look by the edge of the woods and see if we can catch some pheasants or rabbits or something. As I spoke, I led the horse toward the oak woods, and Fifth hurried to follow. Big brother, how are we supposed to hunt? We can't outrun them. All I have is a slingshot. Pick up a few stones. I have my own way. Relying on our legs to chase them definitely won't work. Only stupid dogs chase birds. Smart ones don't. We set snares. Logically speaking, without snowfall you can't set them. If they don't walk out a trail, you can't pin down their tracks. Once the snow falls, whatever way they came, they'll take the same way back, because the snow is deep elsewhere and hard to walk through. Set snares? Big brother, we don't have any wire, and besides, how can we set snares without snow? I stared straight at the big black horse's rear. Hold the horse steady and don't let it move. Old Fifth didn't catch on, thinking I was about to do something unspeakable, and quickly said, Big brother, you can't do Sister Xiaolan wrong. Besides, I can't hold it steady either. What if the horse kicks you? That kid Liurtzi once touched the horse's balls and got kicked by the horse. His knees knocked together, his hands covered his crotch, and he hopped around pigeon-toed. It hurt just watching him. Big brother, don't do it. The corner of my eye twitched. Get the hell out of here. Who said anything about breeding the horse? I want to use horsehair to make snares. Ants? What ants can you snare? I rolled my eyes. Not ants. Horsetail hair is called horsehair. Use 3 strands. Forget pheasants. You can even catch rabbits. As I spoke, I took out my knife to cut some, but I didn't expect the blade to be too dull to cut through. So gritting my teeth, I yanked out 20 or 30 strands. Giving it a hard tug, the whole tail tuft came loose, and the horse's hoof came kicking over too. It just barely missed me. Old Fifth was so scared he yelped, "Mama, Big Brother, see? It really does kick people." Luckily, it didn't hit me. If it had, I'd be crippled and wouldn't be able to sire children anymore. I ignored his nonsense and went into the oak woods with the 30 horsehairs in hand, probably enough to make a dozen or so snares. For pheasants, tie 2 strands together. For rabbits, use 3. Rabbits are hard to snare without snow, so I'd rely on experience and set 3 to 5. I know a trick for pheasants called a flying snare. You set it in a tree, not on the ground. One end is tied into a live loop about the size of a fist, a noose like the kind used to hang a dog, and the other end is tied to the tree. Normally, it won't catch anything. Only when a pheasant is landing or flying past will the wind from its wings lift the snare, just enough to catch its head or claws. The more it struggles, the tighter it gets. This kind of snare requires a great deal of experience, judging when pheasants will land and when they'll fly past. Experience like that is the one thing I don't lack. In my previous life, as a mercenary, what hadn't I been through? I knew the mountains better than a wife. After roaming around for nearly 2 hours, I had set more than a dozen pheasant snares, and in places that looked promising I set another 5 or 6 rabbit snares. I felt confident. I wouldn't say they'd all hit, but having meat for dinner was no problem. If I catch more, I can even take them to town to trade for money and buy some tools. It's too hard without tools. There is an old homemade shotgun at home, but it's about as useful as a fire poker. Best to save up and buy a real gun. With a gun, I'd dare go into the woods and hunt bigger game. Going up against wild boars and black bears with nothing but a butcher's knife isn't courage, it's recklessness. After setting the snares, with nothing else to do, I came to where the mountain edge met the riverbank, thinking I'd get a couple of fish to eat. Forget jumping straight in to catch them. I didn't want to experience that basket yanking feeling again. Just 4 or 5 meters out from the mountain edge, a dark gray figure suddenly leaped past right in front of me, and the instant it landed, I saw a patch of yellow-brown. Oh my DJ, isn't this a snow frog? A wood frog. Soft gold in later generations. At this season it's full of roe and fat, an absolute delicacy in an era short on oil. Just sizzle some scallions in oil, add farmhouse soybean paste, and stew it for half an hour. After one bite, nobody says a word. But this thing is really hard to catch. In the grass it can jump over a meter high and more than 2 meters far. And trying to catch it barehanded is like grabbing a toad till you squeeze pee out of it. You'll wear yourself out till you pee. After thinking for a moment, I turned back into the woods, used the butcher's knife to chop a 2-meter-plus oak switch as thick as a thumb, and trimmed off the branches and leaves. Holding the stick, I came to the grassy meadow, moving one step at a time and watching for every stir in the grass. Another wood frog suddenly leaped high up to my front left. I swung the oak switch, missed, hit wide. This body is too weak, it can't keep up with my mind. In my previous life, one swing like that would hit every time. Still, there really were plenty of wood frogs in those days. I kept swinging and adjusting, and half an hour later, the first snow frog was successfully slain beneath my stick. He parted the grass and found it there, belly up, deep yellow and swollen, weighing over 200 grams. In later years, you wouldn't get to eat one for under 50 yuan. Gray-black mottled patterning. It wasn't dead, just dazed from the blow. He kept on slaughtering. By the time he got the third one, he couldn't carry any more, so he quickly shouted to Old Fifth, "Bring the sack over here." It took a few shouts before Old Fifth came trotting over with the sack. "Big brother, did you catch a pheasant or a rabbit? Using a sack?" Then he saw the wood frogs. "Holy crap, big brother, how'd you catch toads? These things are hard to catch." "Toad my ass, these are wood frogs." I shot him a glare. So the two brothers split up the work like that. I swept through the wood frogs, and Old Fifth followed behind, picking them up and stuffing them into the sack. After 3 or 4 hours of hustling, without even stopping for lunch, we turned the meadow upside down and ended up with nearly half a sack, over 10 gene, 60 or 70 of them. We were thirsty, hungry, and exhausted. I said to Old Fifth, "Put the sack in the river water, don't let them suffocate. I'm going up the mountain to check the snares, and when I get back we'll head home." I turned and went into the oak woods. Not far in, I heard the sound of thrashing, so I slowed my steps and moved closer. You can't rush. When a pheasant gets frightened and starts fighting for its life, ordinary horsetail cord can't withstand the struggle. Sure enough, a pheasant had been snared by the neck and was still struggling faintly. I stepped forward, took it down, gave it a twist, and ended its life. Seeing the horsetail cord could still be used, I straightened it out and kept going. If it was snared by the neck, I'd take it down and twist. If it was caught by the leg, I'd deal with it using the stick. The whipping from the stick had even snapped the horsetail cord. After checking all the snares, the haul was 6 pheasants, 2 rabbits, and unexpectedly 1 hazel grouse. Dragon meat in the sky, donkey meat on the ground. Nothing beats it for soup, incredibly fresh. The pheasants weighed over 2 gene each, the rabbits 5 or 6 gene, and the hazel grouse less than 1 gene. Altogether, it was over 20 gene. Panting from exhaustion, I walked out of the woods, and old Fifth was already waiting. He hurriedly took them from me. "Big brother, you're amazing. We've got meat to eat this time." I handed the pheasants to him and kept the rabbits myself. "Hurry and bring the wood frogs. We're going home. Once we get back, we'll go straight to town. Big brother will treat you to something good." "What are we going to town for? Isn't what we've got in our hands already something good to eat? Besides, do you even have money?" I glared at him. "Can't what you're carrying be turned into money?" The 2 brothers gathered their things and rode the mule and horse home. There was only 1 sack for the wood frogs, so the rabbits and pheasants couldn't be put together with them. Old Fifth rode the horse, holding the sack with 1 hand and carrying the pheasants with the other. I had it easier, only carrying 2 rabbits. No one was home when they got back. Everyone had probably gone out to mix mud or cut oak branches. The 2 brothers didn't stay. They drank some water, each grabbed a flatbread to eat on the road, since they were truly thirsty and hungry. They rode the horse and the mule to town separately. It was 18 li to town, and the 2 brothers didn't ride fast. In about half an hour or so, they got there. When the 2 brothers arrived in town, they didn't go to the supply and marketing cooperative, because without even thinking about it, the price there would be very low. Instead, the 2 of them went to a private place that bought mountain goods. This was a place Lu Hongjun had heard about from a classmate when he was in school, though he had never been there himself. Supposedly, the boss's surname was Sun. No one knew his full name, only that everyone called him Boss Sun. And those familiar with him all called him Sun never loses out, meaning that no matter who he dealt with or what business he handled, he never came out on the losing end. Only he got the advantage. In the past, he had also made a living roaming the mountains and hunting. Supposedly, he hadn't been able to keep at it these past few years, so he opened a buying shop in town. Usually, he bought wild game from the mountains, furs, fish from the river, and the like. Supposedly, there was nothing he wouldn't buy: ginseng, sable pelts, even tiger skins. As long as you had it, he'd take it. As the 2 brothers asked around while walking, they came to the front of a courtyard. It had 3 large tiled roof rooms, and the yard was impressively spacious too. This one courtyard alone had to be more than an acre in size. In these times, most houses were thatched with foreign grass. Being able to use asbestos tiles for the roof, let alone in the countryside, was rare even in town. And with such a large courtyard too, it seemed this Sun No Loss had made quite a bit of money from this business, Lu Hongjun thought to himself. The 2 brothers dismounted in front of the yard. Business was really good. There were already 2 or 3 groups inside selling things. Before anyone could call out, a short, dark, chubby man about 1.6 meters tall came out from the yard. Calling him fat wouldn't be entirely accurate. He was solidly built, looking to weigh about 180 gene. But he definitely didn't give off a flabby impression. He was the typical axle-built man, the kind with real strength. When he saw Lu Hongjun and his brother arrive at the gate, still with sacks loaded on the horse, he laughed before saying a word and held out 2 cigarettes. Then he said to Lu Hongjun and his brother, "You're here, brothers. Looking to sell something? Come on into the yard. Let's talk inside." Old Fifth waved his hand and refused the cigarette Sun handed over, saying he didn't smoke. Lu Hongjun took the cigarette, and Sun hurriedly lit it for him. Lu Hongjun took a deep drag on the cigarette and said with a smile to Boss Sun, "No wonder your business is booming and you can make a fortune. After your whole routine just now, it really makes people feel comfortable." As he spoke, he led the horse into the yard, with Sun following behind, thinking to himself that this young man was good with words, though aloud he said, "Ah, not at all. What fortune? I just earn a bit of hard-earned money. Isn't it all thanks to the support of the folks from all the neighboring villages? Anyone who comes to my door is a guest. Tobacco and liquor always go together. It's nothing. If you 2 brothers haven't eaten yet, in a bit I'll have your sister-in-law fry up a couple of dishes. And since it's our first time meeting, let's have a good drink." The moment Lu Hongjun heard this, he thought, "This is the classic, won't even let you leave without feeding you, and then escorts you for 2 li. He's warm to people and speaks openly, but when it comes time to do business, He'll often cut you once. I'd better keep an extra eye out when we talk price later. Seeing that Lu Hongjun didn't say anything, Sun looked at the sacks on the horse and continued. Here, brother, let me help you unload them. Looks like quite a lot. Don't let the horse get crushed. Lu Hongjun smiled and waved him off. No need to trouble yourself, boss Sun. The two of us brothers can handle it. As he spoke, he and Old Fifth each lifted a sack off the horse and set them on the ground. Opening the first sack revealed the pheasants and hares inside. Sun glanced at them. There were quite a few pheasants and hares. Is the other sack the same too, brothers? He asked, looking at Lu Hongjun and his brother. Lu Hongjun replied, No, that sack has forest frogs. Sun asked in surprise. What forest frogs? Those things aren't easy to get, mainly because they jump too fast. Open it up and let me take a look. Let's see what size they are. Are they male or female? Because forest frogs are pretty hard to catch, it's not easy to beat down the price. But when it comes to male and female, the difference in price is huge. What people mainly want from forest frogs are the roe in their bellies and that oil. Forest frog oil is also called snow clam oil. That's soft gold. But the males don't have it. You could say that if the females are worth 1 yuan per gene, the males aren't even worth 0.1 yuan per gene. When the sack was opened and Sun looked inside, every single one was a big female leopard frog. And none of them were small. Even the small ones weighed over 1 liang. He turned to Lu Hongjun and his brother and said, I'd say, you two brothers are capable men, aren't you? Such big female leopard frogs, and you managed to catch so many? I'll take all of them, every one. Leave them all here. Hurry and take them over there and put them in the vat, otherwise they'll get crushed to death in a bit. As he spoke, he was about to pick up the sack and walk toward the large vat in the corner by the wall, but Lu Hongjun said, No rush yet. Boss Sunday, shouldn't we talk about the price first? But Old Sun put on a look as if he had just remembered, slapped his forehead, and said, Look at me. Got so happy I forgot something this important. I won't hide it from you two brothers either. The goods are good goods, and as for the price, of course I'll give a good price. This stuff goes for a little over 5 yuan per gene. But look, brother, every one of these forest frogs weighs over 1 liang. I'll give you 1.5 yuan each, and that comes to almost 8 yuan per gene. Lu Hongjun smiled after hearing this, but said nothing, and held up 4 fingers to Old Sunday. When Old Sun saw that, he said to Lu Hongjun, Brother, for yuan each is really a bit high. As your old brother, Seeing Lu Hongjun turn around, pick up the sack, and prepare to leave, Old Sun hurriedly said, Oh, my brother, how can the price be that high? I really can't offer that much, old brother here. 2 yuan each. Lu Hongjun picked up the sack and turned to leave. Old Sun quickly grabbed Lu Hongjun's arm. 2.5, brother. 2.5. Old brother here isn't making any profit already. Lu Hongjun turned and looked at him, saying, 2.8. If that works, we'll count them. If not, I'll go look around elsewhere. I can't have Boss Sun taking my goods at a loss, can I? When Old Sun heard this, he sucked in through his teeth, gritted them, and said, All right, brother, this is the first time we're doing business together. And since you trust your old brother enough to walk into my yard, I have no reason to turn you away. Profit or loss, I'll do this deal. As for the pheasants in that sack, I'll give you 4 yuan each. Rabbit pelts are worth 2 or 3 yuan, and rabbit meat is only worth a little over 1 yuan. So I'll give you 5 yuan for each rabbit. Lu Hongjun said with a smile. All right, Boss Sun is straightforward, and I'll be straightforward too. Let's count them and settle the score. They carried the sack to the side of the vat and counted as they threw them in. In the end, there were 64 forest frogs in total, plus 8 dead ones, which were not counted. Old Sun wanted to take them at half price, but Lu Hongjun did not agree, saying this stuff wasn't easy to get, and he would take them home to have a taste himself. That's just how things were in the countryside. You never got to eat the good stuff. The good things were always used to trade for money. Only things that couldn't be exchanged for money, or weren't worth much, were kept to eat yourself. 64 forest frogs at 2.8 yuan each came to a total of 179.2 yuan. 6 mountain pheasants sold for 24, and 2 rabbits for 10, making a total of 213 yuan and 2 jiao. Old Sun was very generous and handed over 215 yuan. He went inside and brought Lu Hongjun 21 10 yuan notes and 1 5 yuan note, telling Lu Hongjun to count them carefully and put them away safely. You had to know, this was over 200 yuan. At the time, the average wage was only 40 or 50 yuan. In just this one day, the two brothers had earned 4 months' wages of a worker. Old Fifth stood by watching, so excited that his face was flushed red, only knowing how to grin. Seeing that the account had been settled, old son called out to the Liu brothers, saying, "Say, you two brothers, it's your first time visiting my home. In a bit I'll have your sister-in-law fry up a couple of dishes, and your old brother will have a drink with you." Lu Hongjun waved his hand and said, "No need for a meal, but I'd like to buy something from boss son." Old son asked, "I wonder what the little brother wants to buy." Lu Hongjun said, "I want to make my living in the mountains in the future. I'm short a gun, but I don't have much money on hand, so I want to buy a second-hand one." When old son heard this, he frowned and said, "For going into the mountains, a Type 56 would be suitable, but even second-hand, it isn't cheap. One in a bit better condition would cost at least 500 or 600. The 1956 Type 7.62mm semi-automatic rifle, abbreviated as the Type 56 semi-automatic rifle, 56 semi, while the old sleeved rifle is quite cheap. You can get a decent one for 100 or so. I've been asked to help sell both of these, and I have both here. Which one do you want to buy, brother?" The Type 1888 commission rifle is commonly known domestically as the Hanyang-made rifle. The early version with a barrel sleeve is called the old sleeved rifle. My suggestion is still to get a 56 semi. It's more expensive, but when going into the mountains, it's something that can save your life. The old sleeved rifle is fine if you're just wandering around the edge of the woods. But once you go deep into the forest, it's not reliable. Lu Hongjun thought about it. Neither of these two would do. The 56 semi was too expensive. He simply couldn't afford it, and the old sleeved rifle wasn't even under consideration. That thing is only good for shooting a damn chicken or two. He was going into the old forest. With this kind of thing that has to be reloaded after every shot, that wouldn't be going into the mountains to hunt. He'd be going in to deliver a buffet meal to tigers and black bears. Not to mention getting one of those rat-tat-tat ones spitting blue fire, but at the very least he needed something capable of automatic fire. Although Lu Hongjun was confident in his marksmanship and could guarantee a hit with one shot. Once you enter the old forest, wild beasts won't talk about honor with you, much less fight you one-on-one. Not to mention anything far-fetched. If you run into a herd of wild boars or a pack of dholes with an old sleeved rifle in your hands, there's really not much difference between that and carrying a firewood stick. Thinking of this, Lu Hongjun couldn't help shaking his head. Seeing his expression, boss son more or less guessed what was on his mind, thought for a moment, and said, "I have a gun here. Do you want to take a look, brother?" Lu Hongjun asked, "What gun?" Boss son didn't answer, only led Lu Hongjun into the house. He dragged a wooden box out from under the wardrobe. Inside the box it was wrapped in oiled paper. He opened the oiled paper and took out the gun. Lu Hongjun glanced at it and blurted out instinctively, "Mauser?" He immediately shook his head and said no. After taking a closer look, his pupils suddenly contracted, and he looked at boss son and said, "Type 80? Boss son said with a smile, "Sharp eyes, little brother." Lu Hongjun continued asking, "With a stock?" Boss son's smile grew even broader as he replied, "With a knife stock. The Type 1987.62mm machine pistol, the version with the dagger stock. Commonly known as the Type 80 with knife stock." Lu Hongjun took the gun and handled it. This was really a good thing. 7.62mm pistol rounds, a 20-round magazine capacity. Without the stock, 50 meters was no problem. With the stock attached, 100 meters was no problem either. And it even had a knife stock, so there was no need to bring a knife up the mountain. He liked it very much. Suitable, extremely suitable. But if he remembered correctly, this gun had not been produced in large numbers, nor had it seen much battlefield use. No matter what, it shouldn't have ended up in the hands of boss son in a remote small town in He province. There had to be something wrong. As Lu Hongjun was thinking about how this gun had ended up with boss son, thinking was one thing, but his hands didn't stop. In just this short while, Lu Hongjun had already disassembled the gun, with all the parts laid out on the com. He looked up and said to boss son, "Boss son, this gun is new. It has only been fired once." Boss son was inwardly startled. What a formidable young man. His gun disassembly technique was far too skillful, and his eyes were far too sharp. Seeing Lu Hongjun staring at him, he hurriedly said, "Brother, to tell you the truth, I came across this gun when I was delivering goods to Jia City. The original owner had also gone to great lengths to get his hands on it. But as soon as he got it, it injured someone. He felt uneasy about it and was preparing to sell it off, and I happened to run into him. I thought it was something rare, so I brought it back, but I don't go into the forest anymore now. So it's useless sitting at home. If you can use it, brother, I'll let you have it." Lu Hongjun reassembled the gun and said to boss son, "A beginner had an accidental discharge? Sun Boss was stunned when he heard this. You've heard about this? Lu Hongjun shook his head and said, the safety wasn't even fully pushed into place before the gun went off. There's something wrong with this gun. It has to be recalibrated before it can be used. Sun Boss was truly convinced. Just from one look at the gun, he was able to infer so much. This young man was definitely no ordinary person. He then said, that's basically the situation. If you can use it, brother, I won't ask much from you. Just give me what it cost me. He held up 2 fingers. 200 yuan. Lu Hongjun shook his head, held out his thumb and index finger, and said, 80. Brother, that's not how you bargain on a price. I spent over 100 when I bought it. You can't let your big brother take a loss, can you? Lu Hongjun said, there's something wrong with this gun. Either take it back to the factory for repairs, or if you sell it like this, sooner or later something will happen again. Looking at Boss Lu's puzzled expression, he continued, I can fix it. Boss Lu gritted his teeth. 100, not a cent less. I'm already taking a loss of 20. Lu Hongjun still smiled and shook his head, holding out his index finger and thumb, and said firmly, 80. Apart from me, this gun is just scrap iron in anyone else's hands. At a critical moment, not only can it fail to save your life, it might even cost you your life. Sun Boss pondered for a good 3 or 4 minutes. Finally, he gritted his teeth and stamped his foot. Fine, brother, it's sold to you. Your big brother is really taking a big loss here. If you ever use this gun to bring down something good, you've got to remember your big brother, all right? But let's get the ugly part out in front first. Since we've already said it has a problem, if something happens later because of that problem, you can't come back to me. Clearly, he also knew that there was something wrong with the gun. Then, brother, these bullets. Lu Hongjun said with a smile, don't worry. If any problems come up in the future, I won't come looking for you, big brother. As for the bullets, how many do you have here? Sun Boss dragged out another large box. Lu Hongjun merely opened the box and swept his eyes over it. Whoa, there must be 400 or 500 rounds in here. He looked up at Sun Boss and said, the guy who originally bought this gun really did stock up on quite a few bullets. Thinking about it carefully, it was not surprising. After all, this gun was called the Type 80 machine pistol. In full auto mode, it could empty a 20-round magazine in 3 seconds. If you fired it like that, then 400 or 500 rounds really wasn't much. In the end, there were more than 400 rounds of ammunition, plus 1 spare magazine, 1 stock, and 1 gun. Altogether, Lu Hongjun gave Sun Boss 100 yuan. Just like that, 10 yuan notes were gone. Of the 200 plus yuan he had just gotten, half was gone in the blink of an eye. Old Fifth, standing nearby, felt the pain in his heart, but didn't dare interrupt. He could only pout and pack the bullets into 2 burlap sacks. The 2 brothers each carried 1 burlap sack, while Lu Hongjun held the wooden box containing the gun. Politely declining Sun Boss's invitation to stay for food and drinks, the 2 brothers each led a horse and a mule as they left Sun Boss's home. The moment they stepped out of Sun Boss's yard, Old Fifth hurriedly said, Big brother, what did we buy this thing for? That's 100 yuan. You wouldn't even need that much money to marry Sister Xiaolan. Do you know how much grain 100 yuan could buy? We could be eating flatbread every meal. Lu Hongjun rolled his eyes at him and kicked him in the butt. Eat, eat, eat. That's all you think about all day. He reached out and patted the wooden box holding the gun. With this thing, we're going to have a lot of 100 yuan sums in the future, a whole lot of 100 yuan sums. Big brother, are we still going to catch frogs tomorrow? This thing won't be useful for that. We can't use it to shoot them either. If they all get shot dead, they won't be worth much anymore. Lu Hongjun said irritably. Catch my ass frogs. From now on, we're going into the mountains to hunt. Big brother will take you to hunt wolves, bears, leopards, and the mountain god himself. Just think about how many 100 yuan sums we'll be able to make then. Old Fifth's eyes lit up when he heard this. Big brother, then let's hurry back. Once we're back, we'll summon second brother, third brother, and fourth brother, and we'll go into the mountains together to hunt leopards and the mountain god. When the time comes and we make money from hunting, we'll build a house even bigger than old Sun's. Our family will eat flatbread every day and meat every day. The 5 of us brothers will each marry 2 wives, and our dad will marry 1 more too. Lu Hongjun was so exasperated he laughed. Not very old, but your ambitions sure aren't small, even talking about marrying 2 wives. But on second thought, that was true too. In this day and age, not to mention how much money you have in your pocket, even just having a decent big brick and tile house. If you eat flatbread every day and can eat meat every day, there really are plenty of people who'd be scrambling to marry into your family. As for us brothers, it's really hard to say. Maybe each of us really could marry 2 or 3 wives. Although current national policy doesn't allow it now, this is not the future after all. If both sides are willing and just don't get a marriage certificate, then I wouldn't be guilty of bigamy. We'd just live together, sleep together, and have children together. What could anyone do to me? Thinking about it, he couldn't help laughing too. He turned to old Fifth and said, "Hurry up, stop daydreaming. Let's go to the supply and marketing cooperative and buy a few things, then we'll head home." "Buy what, big brother?" "Let's buy something to eat first. We really are hungry." From morning till now, the two brothers had barely eaten anything, and after being busy for half the day, of course they were hungry. Lu Hongjuan's stomach had long been growling. As they passed a place selling steamed buns, he bought a few big buns. Lu Hongjuan took out 10 yuan and in one go bought 50 big steamed buns, wrapped them in paper, and put them in a bag. As the two brothers walked, they ate. Each of them ate 7 or 8 buns just like that, and they planned to carry the rest home. Once they were full, old Fifth said to Lu Hongjuan, "Big brother, shouldn't we be heading home?" Lu Hongjuan turned his head and said, "No rush. Let's first make a trip to the supply and marketing cooperative." The two brothers then headed straight there. At this time, when buying things, tickets were hardly needed anymore. First of all was oil. In those days, what people lacked most was grease and oil. Soybean oil cost a little over 0.8 yuan per jean, and Lu Hongjuan bought 10 jean in one go. Pork was also a little over 0.8 yuan, but fatty pork was more expensive at 1.1 yuan. Although in the future Lu Hongjuan didn't like eating fatty meat, after transmigrating here for 2 days, Lu Hongjuan's mouth was already craving rich food. He bought 10 jean of thick fatty pork, along with the streaky pork on top of it. Lu Hongjuan planned to go back and make a pot of braised pork to satisfy his craving. He bought 50 jean of rice at 0.3 yuan per jean. Lu Hongjuan also bought some cigarettes. Although this body's owner didn't smoke in this life, in his previous life Lu Hongjuan had been a typical heavy smoker. Hongtashin cost 1.5 yuan a pack, and Dakiaman 0.35 yuan a pack. Lu Hongjuan bought a carton, 10 packs, of Dakiaman, and then bought some miscellaneous seasonings, as well as some bean cake for the horse. In total, he spent over 40 yuan. Even the sales clerk at the supply and marketing cooperative looked curious. Which family's kid was this, spending so much money all at once? A month's wages gone just like that. If my kid spent money like this outside, I'd beat him to death. The two brothers tidied up the things, packed them into bags, and put them on the horse's back, then rode the horse and the mule respectively toward Lu family village. By this time it was already nearly a little past 2 p.m., and by the time they got home, it was almost dark. In the northeast, it gets dark early. In early autumn it gets dark around 4 or 5 o'clock, and in winter, generally, it gets dark around 3 o'clock. The two brothers were full and in no hurry, so they dawdled along on the way back. By the time they reached the village, it was already just about dusk. Before they even got home, they ran into villagers and heard that something had happened. Something had happened by the river. Lu Hongjuan and his younger brother had just returned to the village. Before they could even get home, they heard villagers say, something had happened at the East River. As for what exactly happened, no one explained clearly. It seemed someone had fallen into the river and drowned. Lu Hongjuan handed the mule's reins in his hand to Old Fifth and said to him, "Old Fifth, take the animal home first. I'll go take a look." After saying that, without waiting for Old Fifth to reply, he headed straight for the East River on the east side of the village. Logically speaking, no one should have fallen into the river in this season, and besides, the East River wasn't very deep, and most of the villagers living by the river could swim. How could someone have fallen into the water and drowned? Thinking this, Lu Hongjuan unconsciously quickened his pace. By the time Lu Hongjuan reached the East River, it was already surrounded by people. The autumn harvest had just finished, and the production team had only recently split up, so there wasn't much work on hand. He squeezed into the crowd and saw that his father and his future father-in-law were both there. Lying on the ground was a person soaked all over. Looking carefully, he saw it was Widow Wang from the village, and there were clothes scattered nearby. This spot was close to the river by the village, with quite a few rocks and rather shallow water. Villagers often brought clothes here to wash, and it looked like Widow Wang had fallen into the water while washing clothes, though no one knew why she had fallen in. Lu Hongjuan had no time to think further, seeing that Widow Wang still seemed to be breathing, with her belly rising and falling slightly. It looked from the condition of her stomach that she had swallowed quite a lot of water. From the villagers' animated discussion, he learned that Widow Wang had come here to wash clothes. And while she was washing, a wild boar suddenly appeared from who knew where. And for some reason, The boar had gone mad and charged straight at her. Luckily, just as the boar came at her, she had bent over with her head down to pick up some clothes, and the boar's snout brushed up from her buttocks to her back. With just that brush, it knocked her into the river. If it had really hit her head on, she would have been dead or crippled from that one blow. But even now it wasn't much better. She didn't dare come out of the river and couldn't swim, and by the time the villagers heard her cries for help and rushed over, she had already ended up like this. The villagers all pitched in to drag her onto the bank and then laid her here. Because Widow Wang had married in from another village, and it had been less than half a year since she came. Her husband had gone into the mountains to hunt and never came back. Neither dead nor alive could he be found. Her parents-in-law had also both passed away not long after, overcome by shock and grief, leaving her alone to live in the village. In this situation, with no relatives or close ties, no one was willing to step forward. Some people were even saying, she must have gotten pregnant with a ghost child after falling into the river, otherwise her belly couldn't be that big. The villagers were unwilling to get involved, and seeing that she was clearly breathing out more than in, even if they took her to the hospital in the town or the city now, it was probably already too late. Lu Hongjuan's father and his future father-in-law did want to save her, but seeing the situation as it was, they were at a loss. When Lu Hongjun heard this, his face darkened. What the hell kind of ghost child pregnancy was that? This was obviously from falling into the water and swallowing too much water in the river. If she wasn't treated immediately, then she really wouldn't be far from death. Lu Hongjun hurried forward and placed 3 fingers on the main artery in Widow Wang's neck, and felt that there was still a pulse. Then he pulled open her eyelids to check, and there was already very little life left in them. Lu Hongjun quickly laid her flat and reached out to unbutton Widow Wang's clothes. At a time like this, the wet clothes absolutely couldn't be left constricting her body. With those wet clothes binding her, her breathing would become even more labored. When he got to the 3rd button, Lu Hongjun stopped what he was doing, not because of the villagers' cries of alarm, but because he realized this woman wasn't wearing anything underneath at all. If he undid it now, all the men in the village would get an eyeful. Lu Hongjun stopped, and the villagers began chattering. Isn't that Lu Guiqiang's eldest son? Didn't they say this kid was studying in town? Didn't they say he was dating Xiaolan from Wu Jiaoyang's family? Didn't they say they're almost getting married? So how is he stripping a widow's clothes off in broad daylight? And a widow who's practically dying at that? Lu Hongjun ignored the villagers' gossip, looked up at his father and his future father-in-law, and said, Dad, Uncle Wu, have the men clear out. Sister Wang isn't dead yet. She can still be saved. This place needs ventilation, and her clothes need to come off. Widow Wang was 3 years older than Lu Hongjun and was often with Xiaolan, so there was no way Lu Hongjun could just stand by and watch her die. Lu Guiqiang looked at Lu Hongjun with a baffled expression and thought, Nanny? Ventilation? Take off her clothes? What the hell? Then, full of doubt, he quietly asked Lu Hongjun, Are you sure you're saving someone? And not using this as an excuse to grope a woman? And in front of the whole village, and your future father-in-law at that? Wu Jiaoyang was the first to come to his senses, and said to Lu Guiqiang, I've watched Hongjun grow up. He's not that kind of kid. As he spoke, he waved at the villagers who were there to watch the spectacle. All the men, clear out. Although the villagers still wanted to watch the drama, since the brigade secretary had spoken, no one could really say anything. They all turned and left, and Lu Guiqiang and Wu Jiaoyang also turned away to give them privacy. Lu Guiqiang had just turned around when he felt something was off. We've all turned away, and those who left are gone. Then wouldn't it be just you, a grown young man? He had just wanted to turn back and say something, but Wu Jiaoyang tugged him. Wu Jiaoyang looked at him, shook his head, and said nothing. Lu Hongjun hurriedly began rescuing Widow Wang, and in the process he inevitably saw things he shouldn't have seen, but now was not the time to think about that. He quickly knelt on the ground, stacked both hands over her chest, and pressed down hard, pressing over and over until Widow Wang coughed up a mouthful of water. Lu Hongjun immediately knelt on his left knee with his right leg raised, and placed Widow Wang face down over his knee. With his knee pressing against Widow Wang's stomach, he kept patting her back. Before long, a lot of water flowed out of Widow Wang's mouth and nose. When Lu Hongjun saw that she had expelled about enough water, he laid Widow Wang flat on the ground, pinched her nose, blew air into her mouth, then got up and pressed on her chest, repeating the process over and over. Lu Hongjun was busy to the point of sweating profusely. Finally, Widow Wang let out a loud cry and vomited another big mouthful of water, and she was finally saved. Lu Hongjun hurriedly helped her sit up, pulled over some clothes from the side to cover her chest. Widow Wang gradually regained her breathing, and her eyes opened as well. Hearing the sound, Lu Guiqiang and Wu Jiaoyang also turned back around and looked at the revived widow Wang with faces full of disbelief. Even the women watching nearby were whispering among themselves. This is incredible. Widow Wang was practically dead, but after being touched a few times and kissed a few times by the Lu family's eldest son, she actually came back to life. Lu Hongjun was speechless with frustration when he heard that, but didn't respond, and said to Widow Wang, "Sister Wang, are you feeling better?" Widow Wang had recovered somewhat by then and gave a slight nod. Seeing this, Lu Hongjun said to his father and his future father-in-law, "She's fine now. Have a few of the aunties help carry Sister Wang back home so she can rest." Lu Guiqiang and Wu Jiaoyang immediately organized several women to step forward and help. Everyone pitched in to fasten Widow Wang's clothing buttons, supported her, and escorted her back home. At this time, Wu Tonglan also hurried over after hearing the news. Lu Hongjun said to her, "Xiaolan, stay here with Sister Wang for a while and help her change into a dry set of clothes. I'll head back first." Wu Tonglan nodded in agreement. "Okay, Brother Hongjun, go on back first. It's just..." Lu Hongjun turned to Wu Tonglan and said, "What's wrong? If you have something to say, just say it." Wu Tonglan, her face flushed red, said in a very soft voice, "Brother Hongjun, can what you did really cure illness?" Lu Hongjun felt overwhelmed and answered helplessly, "Xiaolan, that was artificial respiration and CPR." Xiaolan still said with a puzzled look, "But you did that to Sister Wang." Looking at Wu Tonglan's serious expression, Lu Hongjun was utterly speechless. He opened his mouth, only to find that he really couldn't explain it clearly in just a sentence or two. He could only say to Wu Tonglan, "Don't let your imagination run wild. Hurry up and help Sister Wang change into a dry set of clothes. It's already getting dark. I'm going home to cook. Come to my house for dinner later." When Lu Hongjun got home, Old Fifth had already unloaded everything, and the mule and horse had both been fed. Lu Hongjun went inside, preparing to wash his hands and cook. As soon as he stepped into the outer room, he heard Old Fifth's voice. Listening carefully, he realized Old Fifth was talking about what had happened today, catching forest frogs and selling goods. When Lu Hongjun walked into the inner room and looked, he saw his father and his future father-in-law both sitting on the edge of the Kong. When they saw him come in, they both raised their heads and looked at him. Lu Hongjun hurriedly pulled out the cigarettes he had bought today from his pocket and handed one each to his future father-in-law and his father. Wu Jiaoyang reached out to take his and had Lu Hongjun light it for him. Lu Guiqiang, however, waved his hand, reached over to pick up the tobacco pouch beside him, then picked up the pipe bowl. Lu Hongjun struck a match and lit it. Wu Jiaoyang smoked without saying a word. Lu Guiqiang took a puff of smoke, looked at Lu Hongjun, and said, "Tell me then, how did you sell it for so much money? And what did you buy that thing for?" As he spoke, he pointed at the two wooden boxes on the floor, one big and one small. The big box contained bullets, and the small box contained the Type 80, and he asked, "Also, were you really saving someone today? And not acting like a hooligan?" Lu Hongjun smiled and said, "Dad, I really was saving someone. How could I act like a hooligan in that kind of situation? In front of so many people, how could I possibly? Besides, isn't Sister Wang just fine? Isn't that the best proof? What I was doing is called CPR and artificial respiration. We were taught this at school." Lu Hongjun could only say that he had learned it at school. At this point, Wu Jiaoyang cut in. "Now that you mention it, I really do remember. When I was in the army, there really was such a method, pressing and kissing and all that." Lu Guiqiang also seemed to recall something and said to Wu Jiaoyang, "How can that be the same? Back then it was all female medics giving first aid to the soldiers." Who wasn't envious at the time? Realizing he had let something slip, he quickly shut his mouth, then thought that saving people is saving people, regardless of gender. And the person being saved doesn't depend on gender either. He glanced at Wu Jiaoyang and, seeing that the other man said nothing and was just smiling at him, his face reddened. Then he sternly said to Lu Hongjun, "Anyway, you brat, stop stirring up trouble for me. If word gets out, it won't sound good. And you brought back such a broken piece of junk. Old Fifth told me you even plan to go into the deep old forest to hunt the mountain god? You've really gotten full of yourself, haven't you? Do you think the mountain god is something you can hunt?" At this moment, Lu Hongjun absolutely dared not admit that he wanted to go hunting in the mountains, and quickly waved his hand and said, "Dad, I'm not saying I'm going into the mountains to hunt the mountain god. I'll just wander around the edge of the woods and hunt some pheasants and wild rabbits, to add a bit more meat for our family. Wouldn't it be even better if I could take some to town and exchange it for a little money? I still don't have any job lined up right now. I can't just stay at home every day, can I? As soon as old Fifth heard this, he objected from the side and hurriedly said, Big brother, that's not right. But you personally told me that you were going to take me into the old forest to hunt the mountain god and black bears, and we'd go down the mountain to sell them for money, and each of us would marry 3 wives. After hearing this, Lu Hongjun and Lu Guoqiang both had black lines all over their faces. Lu Guoqiang thought to himself, is that something you can say out loud? Even if your big brother said it, you still can't say it in front of his future father-in-law. Lu Hongjun was even more speechless. He looked up and glared at him and said, just take it as me bragging. Instead, Wu Jiaoyang burst into laughter and said, good, very good, Hongjun, as long as you've got the ability, I'll make the call. There's no problem no matter how many wives you say you want. But Lu Guoqiang widened his eyes and said, come on, old Wu, that's not how you should talk. You're his future father-in-law. How can you say something like that? But Wu Jiaoyang said with a smile, so what? As long as my daughter eats well, dresses well, and doesn't suffer any mistreatment, and she can enjoy a good life with him, why should I care how many wives he has? There's nothing wrong with a capable man taking several wives. If he takes several wives, then they can all serve my daughter together. It's a good thing that Hongjun knows to better himself, and we should strongly support him. I also heard from old Fifth that Hongjun took him out and caught frogs for 1 day and sold them for more than 200. That's 4 months' wages for one person. With that kind of ability, he can support several wives. Lu Hongjun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He really didn't know whether he should be happy, or should be happy, or should be happy. He really wanted to say to Wu Jiaoyang, father-in-law, you're someone I can really get along with. Just wait and see how your little brother here treats you from now on. But he knew even better that if he said that, his dad would definitely beat him half to death. So he said to his dad and his future father-in-law, Dad, Uncle Wu, just sit for a while. I'll go cook. Today I'll show you what I can do. Lu Hongjun walked into the outer room and called out to old Fifth, Old Fifth, go bring back some firewood. Then he took a large basin and scooped out 8 bowls of the rice he had bought that afternoon. There were 6 in his own family, plus Wu Jiaoyang and his son, 8 people in total. 1 bowl of rice per person should be about enough. Today the main thing was eating meat. In those days, people didn't have much oil or fat in their diet, so they all ate a lot. Even after eating their fill, they'd be hungry again before long. Lu Hongjun added the rice to the basin and poured in some water to rinse it, washing off the floating dust, then carefully rinsed it 2 more times, otherwise there would be sand in it. When you ate, crunch. It could even chip a piece off your tooth. Then he added half a pot of water to the wok, put the rice in, covered it with the lid, and had old Fifth tend the fire there. Then he lit the other stove pit and scrubbed the wok. Once the wok was hot, Lu Hongjun placed the tin of pork belly he had bought that day into the wok skin side down. He kept rubbing it around in the wok until the skin was slightly charred black. Then took it out and rinsed it with water, used a kitchen knife to scrape off the charred black part from the skin, and cut it into mahjong-sized chunks. Normally, dice-sized pieces are just right for braised pork. Otherwise, if the pieces are too big, it feels greasy to eat. But people in those days never talked about meat being greasy. The fattier it was, the more fragrant it tasted. Lu Hongjun cleaned the wok, didn't add any oil, and directly put the cut pork belly into the wok. Stir fry until golden brown, and quite a bit of fat will render out from the meat. Leave some in the pot, and ladle the extra oil into the crock beside it to save for cooking later. Lard was a precious thing in those days. Lu Hongjun then pushed the meat to one side, added a bit of scallion to the oil. There was no cooking wine or dark soy sauce, so he added a little soy sauce instead. Stir-fried until fragrant, then added water and salt. By this time, the pot cooking the rice had already come to a boil. Lu Hongjun found a large basin and used a skimmer to scoop the rice from the pot into the basin. At this point the rice was still undercooked and needed to be steamed in the pot a while longer. Just in time, he used the pot for the braised pork, set a pot rack on top, and placed the basin filled with half-cooked rice on the pot rack, then just covered it with the lid and kept the fire going. Lu Hongjun ladled out the rice soup from the pot he had used for the rice and set it aside, just as he was about to pour oil into the pot. Just then Wu Tenglan walked in, and the moment she entered she said, "Wow, Hongjun-ji, are you the one cooking? It smells so good. Let me help you tend the fire." As she spoke, she gently kicked old Fifth with her foot, and the meaning couldn't have been clearer. Hurry up and get lost. Old Fifth looked utterly confused. It's just tending the fire. What's there to fight over? People actually scramble to do work? Are you sick? Old Fifth didn't say anything. just turned and left the room to find his other 3 older brothers. Wu Tenglan squatted down to tend the fire, and Lu Hongjun looked at her and smiled, but didn't think much of it and continued with his work, picking up the oil he had bought that morning and pouring it into the pot. At that moment, however, Wu Tenglan said, "Hongjun-ji, were you really feeling her up today to save someone?" Lu Hongjuan's hand jerked, and he nearly dropped the oil container into the pot. He quickly steadied it, lowered his head, and said to Wu Tenglan, "Xiaolan, didn't I already tell you? That wasn't feeling her up. That was CPR. So did you touch her or not?" Wu Tenglan asked again. Gritting his teeth, Lu Hongjun said, "I did. No, that wasn't feeling her up. I'll say it one more time. That was not feeling her up." Seeing how he looked, Wu Tenglan lowered her head and muttered softly, "So what if you touched her? What's the big deal? I have them too. Mine may not be as big as Sister Wang's, but I heard that rubbing them makes them bigger. Besides, Sister Wang might even be willing to let you touch them." Lu Hongjun felt his blood pressure shoot up all at once, his head buzzing. He was simply speechless. He could only lightly tap Wu Tenglan on the head with the spatula and say, "Little girl, what nonsense are you thinking about? Hurry up and tend the fire." Lu Hongjun added oil to the pot. Once the oil was hot, he added another spoonful of soybean paste. After frying it until the paste released its aroma, he added 2 chili peppers, then poured a ladle of water into the pot, and put the cleaned wood frogs into the pot. Cleaning wood frogs was actually very simple. Grip both of the frog's hind legs with the left hand, and hold the frog's belly with the right. Then push and press from back to front, and under the pressure the frog's stomach would be forced out through its mouth. At that point, you just rinse it clean with water and it can go into the pot. Lu Hongjun then cut the peeled potatoes into strips and added them to the pot as well. He put on the lid and just waited for the tasty dish to come out of the pot and be served. He looked at Wu Tenglan, who was sitting on a small stool tending the fire, his gaze falling on a patch of snowy white at her collar, and he quickly looked away, otherwise he'd get hard. Then, unable to resist running his mouth again, Lu Hongjun said to Wu Tenglan, "Xiaolan, when will you let me touch you?" Wu Tenglan froze for a moment, then understood and flushed bright red. In a voice as soft as a mosquito, she answered quietly, "Not now." Lu Hongjuan's mind was full of thoughts. If not now, then that means. At this moment, Wu Jiaoyang came out of the house, drawn by the aroma of the food, and said with a smile, "Wow, it smells so good. I still have half a bottle of liquor over there. I'll go get it, and your father and I will have a drink." With that, he walked out. In the yard, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th children were also washing their hands, getting ready to eat. Lu Hongjun looked at the time and figured it was about right. So he first took the rice pot off the stove. There was no need for a plate for the meat, so he directly found a small basin and filled it to the brim with braised pork, then found another small basin and ladled out the potato stew with forest frog sauce from the other pot as well. Then he found another small basin and put a spoonful of pork belly and a spoonful of potato stew with forest frog sauce into it, setting it aside. He was planning to have Wu Tenglan deliver it to Widow Wang later. After what happened today, he figured she probably didn't have anything to eat tonight. Lu Hongjun carried the remaining dishes and rice into the room. At this time, Wu Guoyang had also come back with the liquor. Lu Hongjun and his 5 family members, along with Wu Guoyang and his son, sat around the table in a circle. Wu Guoyang and Lu Guoqiang each poured some liquor. After taking a sip, Lu Guoqiang picked up his chopsticks and said to the youngsters, "Come on, let's eat." The youngsters served themselves rice and, looking at the meat on the table, all said one after another, "It smells so good. It even looks delicious. We didn't even eat this well during the New Year." Lu Hongjun first picked up a piece of braised pork, put it into Xiaolan's bowl, and said, "Here, Xiaolan, try your brother Hongjuan's cooking." Wu Tenglan's little face turned red. She looked up and saw that her father and Uncle Lu were both smiling as they looked at her, then quickly lowered her head and put the piece of meat into her mouth. As soon as the meat entered her mouth, her eyes lit up at once. "Brother Hongjun, wow, so yummy. It's so delicious." The other 4 youngsters also started moving their chopsticks, nodding non-stop as they ate. "So yummy, so yummy." Watching his 4 younger brothers eat with such relish, Lu Hongjun felt a sense of satisfaction he had never experienced before welling up inside him. This feeling was even more satisfying than earning several million in his later life. He picked up a piece of braised pork, put it in his mouth, chewed it a few times, savored it carefully, and said loudly, "This is exactly the taste." He reached out and rubbed Wu Tenglan's head, saying, "If you like it, Brother Hongjun will cook for you every day from now on." We'll eat meat every day? Wu Tonglan's mouth was stuffed full of meat, and the way she looked at Lu Hongjun was practically overflowing with affection. Seeing this scene, Wu Jiaoyang took a sip of liquor and couldn't help shaking his head with a sigh. The daughter I've raised for so many years was won over by a bowl of braised pork. After saying that, he burst out laughing. Lu Guoqiang also laughed and said, "What do you mean won over? She was supposed to be a daughter-in-law of our Lu family all along." The four youngsters also laughed out loud and said from the side, "Big brother, we want some too. We want to eat meat every day too. This meat is so delicious." Lu Hongjun quickly smiled and nodded, agreeing. Okay, everyone will eat meat. From now on, our family will eat meat every day." The meal ended amid everyone's laughter and cheerful chatter. Rice made from 8 bowls of uncooked rice, braised pork made from 10 jin of pork belly, plus a small basin of potato stew with forest frog sauce. 8 people ate it, and still somehow left almost nothing. The 4th and 5th even mixed rice into the braised pork sauce to eat. Lu Hongjun couldn't help grimacing as he watched. Just looking at it felt greasy. But he mixed himself a little too, and once it was in his mouth, it was truly fragrant. No matter how greasy he felt in his heart, his body was very honest. People these days were simply far too lacking in fats and oils. After the meal, Lu Hongjun had the 2nd and 3rd children clean up, while he took out cigarettes and lit one for his father-in-law. Lu Guoqiang originally waved his hand and refused, but Lu Hongjun forcefully stuffed one into his hand anyway. He lit one for each of the 2 men, then put one in his own mouth and lit it too. Lu Guoqiang took a drag on his cigarette and glared at him. "Instead of learning anything good, all you do is learn this useless stuff." Hongjun hurriedly gave an awkward smile and said, "Dad, I just smoke for fun." Lu Guoqiang said irritably, "Smoke for fun? This stuff costs several dimes a pack, and you smoke it for fun? Besides, the way you look, you're even more skilled at smoking than your old man. It's obvious you haven't smoked just a little." Lu Hongjun smiled and didn't explain. He couldn't exactly tell his bargain bin old dad that in his previous life he had smoked for most of his life and was a bona fide heavy smoker. Lu Hongjun pulled Wu Tonglan out of the room. Wu Tonglan seemed to suddenly remember something and quietly said to Lu Hongjun in the outer room, "Hongjun-ji, isn't this not so good? Everyone's still here. How about we wait until there's no one around, and then I'll let you touch me again." Lu Hongjun froze for a moment, then lightly flicked Wu Tonglan on the forehead. "Silly girl, what are you thinking about? Let's go deliver the food I set aside to Sister Wang. She got hurt today, so she definitely can't cook. I'm a grown man, and it's not appropriate for me to go there alone this late." Wu Tonglan suddenly understood and flushed bright red again. She lightly punched Lu Hongjun and said, "You're so bad." Laughing and teasing each other, the 2 of them filled another big bowl of rice. Lu Hongjun carried 2 large ladles of dishes. Wu Tonglan carried the rice, and Lu Hongjun held Wu Tonglan's little hand. Wu Tonglan's face was bright red, but she didn't say anything. The 2 of them headed just like that toward Widow Wang's house. Widow Wang's house was diagonally across from Lu Hongjun's home and shared a front and back courtyard layout with Wu Tonglan's home, so going through the back door was very close. However, ever since Widow Wang was left alone in that house, very few people used that back door anymore. After all, there is always gossip around a widow's doorstep, and only Wu Tonglan occasionally passed through once or twice. By this time, it was already dark. The 2 of them weren't in any hurry, so they took the front entrance instead. That way they could make a little detour and spend a bit more time being close together, which was a mutual, unspoken understanding. But no matter how long the road is, there comes a time when it ends, not to mention that it wasn't far to begin with. When they arrived at Widow Wang's house, the main gate wasn't closed, so the 2 of them went straight into the yard. Seeing that there was no light on in the house, Wu Tonglan knocked on the outer door. "Sister Wang, are you home?" "I am. Is that Xiaolan?" "Come in." As the voice came from inside, there was also a rustling sound from the room. Just as Wu Tonglan and Lu Hongjun stepped into the outer room, the light inside came on. The 2 entered and saw Widow Wang leaning against the wall, sitting at the head of the kong, her lower body covered with a thin little quilt and a garment draped over her upper body. When Widow Wang looked up and saw that Lu Hongjun had come along too, her face immediately reddened, and she said, "Hongjun came too. I haven't even thanked you yet." Lu Hongjun hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Oh, what is there to thank me for? It was just a small favor." After saying that, seeing the way the 2 women were looking at him, he suddenly realized that he seemed to have said something wrong. Wu Tonglan said from the side, "It wasn't just your hands that helped, your mouth did too." Widow Wang's face turned even redder. Lu Hongjun was embarrassed enough as it was, so he quickly changed the subject. Sister Wang, are you all right? You probably haven't eaten yet, have you? I made food at home, and Xiaolan and I brought some for you. Hurry and eat. As he spoke, Lu Hongjun and Xiaolan placed the rice and dishes on the Kong. Looking at the food on the Kong, Widow Wang burst into tears. How long had it been since anyone had thought of her? Widow Wang wiped away her tears and said, "This afternoon, where the pig rammed me still hurt a bit. So I didn't get off the Kong to cook. Missing one meal won't starve me to death." There was sorrow and desolation in her voice. Xiaolan immediately said, "Hurry and eat, Sister Wang. You must be starving." Widow Wang looked at the food, glanced at Lu Hongjun, and said, "Hongjun, go to the outer room and get your sister a pair of chopsticks." Lu Hongjun answered, went to the dish rack in the outer room to get Widow Wang a pair of chopsticks, then came back inside and handed them to her so she could eat. The three of them chatted on and off. Perhaps Lu Hongjun's cooking was just too delicious, or maybe Widow Wang was truly hungry. She ate with great appetite. Seeing that Widow Wang had finished everything, Lu Hongjun took both bowls to the outer room, then turned and said to Widow Wang, "Sister Wang, there's no rush to return the bowls." Widow Wang nodded and replied, "If I can go work in the fields tomorrow, I'll bring them back to you." Seeing that nothing else seemed wrong, Lu Hongjun prepared to get up and leave with Xiaolan. So he said to Widow Wang, "Sister Wang, if there's nothing else, you should rest first. Xiaolan and I will head back now." Widow Wang looked at Lu Hongjun as if she wanted to say something, but didn't. Seeing that she seemed hesitant to speak and had no intention of getting up to see them off, Lu Hongjun suddenly remembered, "Sister Wang, were you badly gored by the pig this afternoon? How about I take a look?" Widow Wang blushed, lowered her head, and stammered, "And no, that's not necessary, right?" Xiaolan could also tell that Widow Wang was embarrassed, but she said nonchalantly, "Oh, come on, Sister Wang. What's there to be embarrassed about? You even let Brother Hongjun touch your breasts? What's the big deal about looking at your butt?" Lu Hongjun felt utterly speechless. How could this silly girl blurt everything out? Seeing Widow Wang lower her head and say nothing, and fearing there might really be a problem, and that any further delay would make things worse, he could only brace himself and say, "Sister Wang, how about I take a look anyway? If there really is a problem, delaying it wouldn't be good." Widow Wang was also afraid something might be wrong, so she nodded and turned her body around, facing the inside of the Kong with her back to Lu Hongjun and Xiaolan. Seeing this, Lu Hongjun thought, "Damn, how am I supposed to look at this? You're wearing clothes on top and wrapped in a quilt below. I can't exactly go and pull your clothes off, can I?" At that moment, Xiaolan walked over and said with a smile, "Oh, Brother Hongjun, what's there to be embarrassed about? You already touched her breasts and even kissed her, so don't worry, I won't mind." As she spoke, Xiaolan lifted the clothes on Widow Wang's back and also pulled up the quilt wrapped around her lower body. Only then did Lu Hongjun realize why Widow Wang hadn't moved at all since they came in. It turned out she wasn't wearing pants on her lower body, only a pair of underpants. Lu Hongjun thought, "Red underpants? Is it your zodiac year?" He steadied himself and looked at the wound on Widow Wang's back, a wound more than a foot long running upward from the butt crack. It was already red and swollen. He reached out and touched it. There were no signs of bleeding. Widow Wang shuddered, and it was hard to tell whether it was from pain or embarrassment. Lu Hongjun pressed it again, and aside from Widow Wang's slight trembling, there was no obvious sign of pain, so he was sure the bone should be fine. So Lu Hongjun said to Widow Wang, "Sister Wang, the bone is fine. Apply a hot towel to the swelling, and it should heal faster." As he spoke, he had Xiaolan find a towel, poured some hot water from the thermos, let it cool slightly, then placed it on Widow Wang's injured area, and pulled her quilt back around her and lowered her clothes again. Lu Hongjun didn't feel it was appropriate to stay any longer, so he said to Widow Wang, "Sister Wang, keep it on a while longer. It'll reduce the pain and help it heal faster. Once it gets cold, just take it off. Xiaolan and I will head back now." Widow Wang raised her head and glanced at Lu Hongjun. "Thank you both, Hongjun, Xiaolan. Hongjun, you saved my life. Once I get better, I'll properly thank you." Lu Hongjun had wanted to tease her with, "How are you going to thank me?" But when the words reached his lips, he instead said, "No need to thank me. It's nothing, Sister Wang, we're leaving now." With that, he pulled Xiaolan along and rushed out the door as if fleeing. Widow Wang watched the backs of the two as they left, shook her head, and smiled again. Lu Hongjun and Xiaolan strolled back together. And when they reached the door of Xiaolan's house, they saw the light on inside and knew that Wu Jiaoyang had already returned. Lu Hongjun let Xiaolan go in by herself. By the time Lu Hongjun got home, His father and his 4 younger brothers were already getting ready for bed. Lu Guoqiang glanced at him when he came in and didn't ask where he had been. Tapping the pipe in his hand, he said to him, "Hurry up and get on the Kong and go to sleep. We still have work to do tomorrow." The father and his 5 sons each got onto the Kong, lay down in their own spots, turned off the light, and prepared to sleep. Lying there, Lu Hongjun thought about taking the gun into the mountains tomorrow to see if he could kill that wild boar that had injured someone. Once a wild beast like that hurts a person, it can't be left alive anymore, especially with it being this close to the village. There was no telling when someone else might end up suffering like Widow Wang did. And when that happened, they might not have Widow Wang's good luck. The children in the village also often went there to play. If that bunch of kids ran into it, the casualties would be terrible. Thinking this, Lu Hongjun gradually drifted off to sleep in a daze. Early the next morning, in his grogginess, Lu Hongjun felt someone nudging him. When he opened his eyes, the sky outside was still dark, and Old Fifth, sleeping beside him, was gently poking him. Seeing that Lu Hongjun was awake, Old Fifth deliberately lowered his voice and said, Big brother, get up. Aren't we going into the mountains today?" Lu Hongjun was really annoyed. He had just been about to scold him when he turned his head and saw, beside Old Fifth, 3 more heads pop out one after another. In the darkness, Lu Hongjun seemed to see their eyes still gleaming. He thought to himself, "What's going on? When did these 4 boys make plans together?" Lu Hongjun then saw his old father, at the head of the Kong, sitting there with a coat over his shoulders, smoking. Figuring that dawn was probably not far off, and that he wouldn't be able to sleep anyway, Lu Hongjun rolled over and sat up as well. The moment he got up, it was as if a reveille had been sounded in some later era, and his 4 little brothers all shot up at once. Old Fifth looked at Lu Hongjun with hopeful eyes and said, "Big brother, are we leaving? Setting out right now?" Lu Hongjun lightly kicked him and said irritably, "Set out my ass. It's still dark out. Besides, aren't we going to eat? Aren't you hungry?" The moment Old Second heard this, he immediately got dressed and got off the Kong. Old Second hurriedly added, "Big brother, I'll go make breakfast. We'll eat right away, and then we'll go." It seemed these 4 boys had already made up their minds to follow him up the mountain. Lu Hongjun didn't really mind. If the brothers all went together, it would save him some effort. The key issue was, if they all went, then what about building the livestock shed at home? Lu Hongjun couldn't help but look up at his father sitting at the head of the Kong. Seeing him look over, Lu Guoqiang tapped his pipe and said, "If they want to follow, let them follow. Staying home would only make trouble." Yesterday, most of the oak branches were already cut and put in the backyard. In the back ditch, the mud has also already been mixed. Today we'll start building the walls, and in a couple of days, once we plaster them, it'll be fine. As Lu Guoqiang spoke, he also got dressed, got off the Kong, turned around, and went out of the room. The brothers were all dressed too and got down to wash their faces. Old Second went to make breakfast, while Old Third and Old Fourth folded the bedding. Old Fifth and Lu Hongjun each carried a bucket, filled them with water, tossed in 2 handfuls of bean cake, and carried them over to the horse and the mule to let them drink. A man does not grow rich without extra income, and a horse does not grow fat without night grass. That's really true. Lu Hongjun caught some forest frogs yesterday, and there are still a few dozen yuan left in his pocket. Mules and horses are the same. If you don't feed them and don't let them eat well, they won't work for you. Fortunately, grain isn't too scarce now. If this were a few years earlier, let alone feeding bean cake to the horses, people themselves wouldn't have enough to eat. Breakfast was simple too. They put last night's leftover rice in the pot and added a few ladles of water. Heated up some porridge, set the steaming rack on top, and since Lu Hongjun and Old Fifth had brought back dozens of buns yesterday when they returned, they put them on the rack to heat them up again. After Lu Hongjun finished up, he pulled a few dried chili peppers from the wall and took them to the stove pit to roast them over the fire. After the dried chilies were roasted, he used his hand to wipe off the loose ash, then cut up a lump of pickled mustard, crumbled the roasted dried chilies into it, and thought it would be even better with a bit of hot oil. But he was too lazy to bother today, so this would do. Soon it was time to eat. The men munched on big buns, drank plain rice porridge, and ate chili-mixed pickled mustard strips. It was unbelievably fragrant. After breakfast, Lu Guoqiang went out to get busy, but Lu Hongjun fell into it. 5 brothers and only 2 horses. There was simply no way they could all ride. Seeing Lu Hongjun standing there without moving, the 3rd brother immediately said, "Big brother, let's hitch up the cart." If they drove the horse cart, everyone could fit. Lu Hongjun thought that made sense too, and nodded. "All right, go ahead." The 3rd brother hitched up the cart, and Lu Hongjun went inside to get the gun. He took the Type 80 out of the chest, then loaded both magazines full, 40 rounds in total. He thought for a moment, then turned back and stuffed another 40 rounds into his pocket because there was something wrong with this gun. Once they got into the woods, he would need to sight in the gun first. For Lu Hongjun, though, that wasn't much trouble, and those bullets were enough. Lu Hongjun also didn't mount the knife stock onto the gun. Instead, he just tucked it into the leg wraps on his calf. In these times, wearing leg wraps when going into the woods was a must. First, to keep your pants from getting torn up, and second, to guard against snakes, insects, and rats. Getting bitten by a snake while walking around was no small matter. And if it happened to crawl up your pant leg, the best case outcome would be becoming an old man with nothing left but eggs. If things went badly, you might not even have the eggs left. The reason he didn't attach the knife stock directly was that Lu Hongjun felt there was no need. Hunting wild animals in the woods wasn't like target shooting in an open area. In the deep forest, you can't see a person even 20 meters away, all blocked by branches and tree trunks. A 50-meter range was more than enough. If you don't get within 50 meters of a wild animal, you won't even be able to see it. As for anything beyond 100 meters, that was a bit far-fetched. It wasn't a matter of whether you could see it, nor whether your marksmanship was good or not. At a distance of 100 meters, the gunshot simply couldn't get through. By the time the bullet had gone 50 meters, who knew what branches had already knocked it off course? Even if a wild animal stood there and let you shoot, you still wouldn't hit it. As for those stories about firing bursts at running herds of wild animals from 1,000 or 800 meters away, Lu Hongjun hadn't managed that in either of his 2 lifetimes. After fastening the holster at his waist and putting the gun inside, he went to the outer room and wrapped up the buns left over from breakfast, carrying them in his hand. Time loses meaning in the mountains, and time always passes quickly once you're in the woods, so it was best to bring a bit more. He also packed a small bundle of salt. There were plenty of wild animals in the mountains. At worst, they still wouldn't go without food. As long as they had salt, they wouldn't starve. He turned and went out of the house. By this time, the 4 younger brothers had already hitched up the horse cart. The 5 brothers led the cart out of the yard, ready to head into the mountains. They had just reached the village entrance, and hadn't even left the village yet when they saw a big, dark-skinned fellow suddenly dash out. The 5 brothers stopped and looked. Wow. He had to be over 2 meters tall, broad-shouldered, and thick-waisted. Even in this era, someone built like that was truly rare. Isn't this Fu Wang? Fu Wang is in his 30s, kind of like the village guardian. Ever since Lu Hongjun can remember, he has been in Liujia village, and no one remembers him having any relatives. Back in the production team days, he helped the kids tending pigs watch the pigs, and the kids herding cattle, and sheep watch the cattle and sheep. Seeing that he was simple-minded, the team would appropriately give him some grain. Lu Hongjun's impression of Fu Wang was that he was always half-starved one meal and full the next. Gradually, people in the village began saying that he was the village guardian, someone who could ward off disasters for the village when great calamities struck. Little by little, most people came to accept this saying, and the villagers were all willing to give him a bite to eat. You could say he was hardworking, but he hardly did any work. But if you call him lazy, he would help out at every wedding and funeral in the village. At most, he was just making sure he got some good food and drink during those days of helping. After Lu Hongjun walked a few steps, he thought about going up to greet him. He opened his mouth, but no words came out, because he didn't know what his name was and only knew that everyone in the village called him Fu Wang. But you couldn't exactly call him Fu Wang to his face, could you?